Story 1. The wrong voice came from my bedroom. I live in a small house on the edge of town, one of those prefab starter homes with thin walls and creaky floors. I moved in 6 months ago, and despite the occasional odd noise, I chalked everything up to settling wood and aging pipes. I didn't grow up with a sense of superstition, so I've always treated strange things with logic. But something happened 3 nights ago that logic hasn't been able to touch. It started with a voice. I was brushing my teeth, the bathroom door open, and I heard my girlfriend's voice come from our bedroom down the hall. She said my name, just once. I glanced down the hallway. The door was slightly open, lights off. She wasn't supposed to be home. She had flown to Chicago that morning for a 4-day conference. I dropped her off at the airport myself. I told myself I must have imagined it. The brain fills in sounds like hearing your phone ring when it hasn't, but the voice came again. This time clearer. Closer. Babe, my hand froze on the toothbrush. I stared down the hall and said, "You're not supposed to be home." Silence. Then, a creak of the bed, like someone sitting down. I walked into the bedroom slowly. Nothing. No one. The room smelled faintly like her shampoo, the kind she'd packed in her suitcase. I checked my phone. No texts, no missed calls. I didn't sleep that night. The next evening, just as the sun was dipping low, I was in the kitchen when I heard movement in the bedroom again. Footsteps, bare feet, shuffling on the carpet. I rushed in. The closet door was slightly open. I reached in to pull it open fully, but just before my fingers touched the wood, I heard breathing from the other side. Slow, calm, human. I yanked the door open. Empty, but the breathing didn't stop. It was behind me. I spun around. Nothing. I called my girlfriend to check in. She answered from her hotel, mid-laughter at something in the background. Totally normal. I told her what had been happening. She got quiet. Then she said something that sent a chill through me. "That's so weird. I've been hearing you in my hotel room." I didn't respond. She continued, "Last night, I heard you say my name from the bathroom. Twice. I even went to check. We both tried to laugh it off. Sleep-deprived minds. Hotel acoustics. But last night confirmed it. I was lying in bed, eyes open, completely alert. Lights off, no music, no TV, just darkness. And then just outside the bedroom door, I heard my own voice. "Hey babe, you awake?" It was perfect. Not a recording, not a parroted phrase. It had tone, pauses, emotion. It even sounded tired like I was. I didn't answer. I held my breath. The voice came again, quieter. "You up? Come here. I need you to cease something." I got out of bed and pressed my ear to the door. Nothing, just silence. Then a whisper, not even a foot away, right at the crack in the door. "Let me in. I don't want to be out here anymore." I opened the door with a sudden motion. Empty hallway, but something had been standing there. I swear I felt it leave, like warm air exiting a room. Tonight I'm going to set up my phone to record audio while I sleep. Not because I want to know what it says, but because I need to prove it isn't real. Or at least, I used to think I needed to prove that. But now I'm wondering, what if it's trying to get me to answer? What if that's how it gets in? Let me know when you're ready for story 2. 2. The man in the elevator didn't press a floor. I work the night shift in a downtown high-rise, 27 floors of stale office air and blue flickering monitors. It's lonely up there after dark, but I like it that way. Fewer people, fewer questions. I mostly do server maintenance. Quiet work that no one notices unless something goes wrong. 2 weeks ago, something went wrong. It was just after 2 a.m. when I got into the elevator on the first floor, badge still clipped to my collar, coffee in hand. I was heading up to floor 23 when the elevator stopped at 5. I figured it was a late-night janitor or one of the developers pulling an all-nighter. But when the doors opened, a man stepped in who I didn't recognize. He was tall, thin, mid-50s, and wearing a perfectly clean gray suit that looked like it had never been worn before. His shoes didn't make a sound when he walked in. His face was wrong, not deformed or anything, just blank, like someone trying to remember how to smile. He didn't press a button. That was the first thing that set me off. He just stood there beside me, hands at his sides, looking straight ahead. I tried to be polite. "What floor?" No answer. I glanced at him. He was staring directly at the little panel that showed the floor numbers. But his eyes didn't blink. I watched the numbers tick up. 6, 7, 8. Still, he hadn't touched the panel. No card swipe, no motion. And yet, the elevator suddenly stopped on 14. That's the floor that's been under renovation for 3 months. No power, no lights, no open doors. I'd seen it just last week. Gutted drywall, loose wires, stripped flooring. The elevator dinged softly. The doors slid open. And the hallway beyond it was lit. Not under construction, not gutted. It looked pristine, like a fully functional floor from a completely different building. The walls were cream-colored. The carpeting was thick, dark red. There was a ticking clock on the wall just outside the elevator. The man stepped out without a word, and just before the doors closed behind him, he turned to look at me. But he didn't have eyes, just shadows in the sockets, like holes punched into a photograph. I hit the emergency stop button. I tried to force the doors back open, but they'd already sealed. The elevator took me to floor 23. I got out, heart racing, and went straight to security. Told them what I saw. They pulled the footage, except the footage showed me entering the elevator alone. No one else, just me, looking confused, muttering, glancing at empty corners. The elevator did stop on 14, but the doors never opened. They said maybe I had a stress episode. They said maybe I imagined it. But I've been working here 7 years, and I know what I saw. And last night on my shift, I took the elevator again. Same time, same route. It didn't stop on 5. It didn't stop on 14. It stopped at 26. The doors opened, and the man in the gray suit was already inside, waiting. Red keeps changing the books in my house. It started with one book. I live alone in a quiet neighborhood just outside of town. The kind of place where the mail comes late and the streetlights flicker if the wind's high enough. I have a small library in my living room, old books, paperbacks mostly. Stuff I've collected since college. Sci-fi, horror, philosophy, some old encyclopedias I picked up at a garage sale just to fill shelf space. A month ago, I noticed something strange. I was rereading The Shining when I flipped to page 237 and found a passage that didn't belong. It wasn't Stephen King's voice. It was cold, detached. Something like, "You've turned to this page because something is watching you. Close the book. It's in the room." I laughed it off. Figured it was a printing error or a gag someone played. I flipped ahead. Nothing else weird. Thought maybe I was just tired. But then it happened again, this time with Slaughterhouse 5. Right in the middle of a paragraph, I knew by heart there was a sentence that hadn't been there before. He's reading this too, you know, but only when you are. I checked with friends, online forums, looked up known misprints. Nothing. And the worst part? Every time I reopened the book later, the message was gone. A week passed. I started scanning books every night before bed, photographing pages to prove to myself I wasn't imagining it. Then I found an entire book I don't remember owning. It was thin, no author, no barcode. The cover was blank, except for a single title in small embossed print, The Reader's Hour. I opened it. Page 1 said, "This book appears only to those who are being read." Page 2, "If you keep going, you'll see what you're not supposed to." Page 3, "Close the book and maybe he won't find out, you know." I turned to the end. The last page was blank except for a hand-drawn map. It showed the layout of my house, only not exactly. There was an extra room, one I'd never seen before, hidden between the bathroom and the closet. I followed the path it showed, measured the walls, and I swear to you, I found a seam. Behind the drywall and the space between studs, there's just enough room for someone to stand completely still, watching. I left the house that night, book in hand, drove 3 towns over and checked into a motel. Couldn't sleep, just stared at that book, flipping through pages. When I looked back at the map, the ink had changed. Now it showed my motel room and the words underneath it, "He found you." Story 4, The Woman in the Orange Jacket. I used to take the 6:42 p.m. commuter train home from the city every night. Always the same car, same seat near the rear, next to the window where I could rest my head and zone out for 45 minutes until my stop. It was a routine that kept my life from falling apart. Same train, same rhythm, predictable. But then she showed up, the woman in the orange jacket. It was the kind of thing that should have gone unnoticed. People come and go on public transit all the time. But she was always there. Same seat, 5 rows up, facing forward, perfect posture, never on her phone, never reading, just sitting completely still. And she wore the same bright orange jacket no matter the weather, rain, snow, heat matter. First week, I assumed she was just a creature of habit like me. By the second week, I started watching her because she never blinked. I started trying to catch her eyes in the reflection of the window, but they were always locked straight ahead, like she was watching something only she could see. Once, just to test it, I stood in the aisle and walked past her row slowly, pretending to look for a seat. She didn't flinch, didn't breathe. Her hands were resting palm down on her knees like she was in some kind of trance. I almost convinced myself she was harmless, until one night the train stopped between stations. Lights flickered, power cut for just a moment, typical city transit glitch, and when they came back on, she was gone. Her seat was empty. I looked around. No one had seen her leave. Then I noticed something on the floor next to her seat. It was a photo, black and white, faded, of me, sitting in my usual seat, asleep, head against the window. That night I stayed up late searching online. Woman orange jacket train. Local forums, Reddit, Twitter. I thought I'd find nothing, but I did. A post from 7 years ago on a now archived commuter thread. Is anyone else seeing the woman in the orange jacket on the evening train? She watches people, never moves. I followed her once. She disappeared at the tunnel. The replies got weirder. She only shows up when someone's being followed. She marks you. If she sits in your row, it means your name is already written down. I stopped riding the train after that, switched to carpool, took different routes home. Paranoid. Until last Tuesday. My coworker offered me a ride home. She said her brother was picking her up and had space in the back. When I got into the car, guess who was sitting in the passenger seat? Same posture, same bright orange jacket, staring straight ahead like she belonged there. I screamed, begged them to pull over. They didn't understand what was wrong. She never turned her head. She just raised her hand and tapped her finger once against the window, like a warning. I haven't slept since, because now I see her everywhere. Not just on the train, not just in reflections. She's on billboards and passing cars, in crowds where no one else seems to notice her, in the corner of my eye when I'm alone in my apartment. And today I found something new in my mailbox. No return address, just a photograph. Me, standing in my living room. But this time, the woman in the orange jacket is behind me, and she's finally looking at the camera. Story 5. My brother left a voicemail 2 years after his funeral. We buried my brother Adam on a rainy Friday in April. 23 years old. Car accident. Single car collision on a back road after work. He was gone before the paramedics even arrived. Closed casket funeral. I never saw him again. I still remember the voicemail he left me the day before he died. Just a quick check-in. I kept that message for months. Listened to it when I needed to hear his voice. Then one day it vanished. My phone updated and the voicemail was gone. I was devastated. That was 2 years ago, until last week when I got a new one. I woke up to a missed call around 3:47 a.m. The number was blocked and the voicemail was 18 seconds long. I nearly dropped the phone when I heard the voice. It was Adam. Same cadence, same inflections, but there was something wrong. The audio was warped, like it was recorded through water or a bad signal. His voice had an echo to it, and he said, "Hey, it's me. I know it's been a while. You might not recognize the number. I'm somewhere different now. I had to wait a long time before I could make this call. Just wanted to say I'm okay. You'll get your chance too. But not yet." There was a long pause before he whispered, "Don't dig. Whatever you do, don't dig." Then the line cut out. I didn't tell anyone, not at first, but I did check with the phone company. They said the call didn't exist. No record of an incoming call at that time. No voicemail in the system, but it was on my phone. I played it for my girlfriend and she started crying. She'd known Adam too and she agreed it was 100% him. That night I had the dream. I was in the cemetery where Adam was buried, only it was different. The graves were arranged in a spiral, and at the center of the spiral was a hole in the ground. Open, pitch black. I could hear someone down there breathing. When I woke up, I had dirt under my fingernails. The next night I got a second voicemail. This one was shorter. "Don't let them find me again. I hid everything for a reason. Don't open the box." No idea what box he meant. I called my mom, asked if Adam had a safety deposit box or something left behind. She got real quiet. Said Adam used to keep an old metal cash box under his bed growing up. She thought she'd thrown it away after he died, but now she wasn't sure. I tore apart our basement storage and eventually found it, tucked in a box labeled Old Chords. Inside the metal box was a flash drive. Just one file. A video. The footage was grainy, dark. Adam was holding the camera, walking through what looked like some kind of tunnel. Brick walls, flickering fluorescent lights overhead. He was breathing hard, whispering into the mic. I don't know what I found. It's not a sewer, it's under the city. I followed the markings, symbols on the walls. It's warm down here. Wrong kind of warm. Then he turned the camera and pointed it at a wall. A strange black mark was painted there, looked like a distorted eye crossed out with 3 slashes. And then, a voice from behind the camera whispered, "Too late." Adam spun around, the video cut to black. That night, I dug up his grave. I know how it sounds. I didn't care anymore, but when I got there, the earth was already disturbed, fresh. The coffin was still buried, but something had pried open the top, cracked it like someone had forced their way out from the inside. The coffin was empty. The final voicemail came 2 days later, just 6 seconds long. I tried to warn you, now he's awake. The line crackled, then ended with a low groan. Not human. That was 3 nights ago, and every night since, I've been getting silent calls at 3:47 a.m. I don't answer anymore, because I think the next time I do, it won't be Adam on the other end. Story 6. There's a mirror buried under our backyard. We moved into the house in late spring. Quiet neighborhood, big yard. My wife and I were expecting our first child, so we needed more space. The realtor called it a fixer-upper, but it had good bones. The backyard was a mess though. Tall grass, overgrown hedges, and an old dead oak tree smack in the middle. About a week after we settled in, I decided to start digging around the tree to remove the roots. We wanted to put in a garden. That's when I hit glass, not shards. A surface, a perfect flat surface. I brushed away the dirt, expecting to find an old window someone buried, maybe part of a greenhouse foundation. But what I uncovered was a mirror, about 5 feet tall, 3 feet wide, buried face up. It had no frame, just smooth silver glass. No cracks, no smudges, just perfect. Like it had been waiting. I called my wife over. "Does it look weird to you?" I asked. She squinted down at it. "I don't see my reflection," she said. Neither did I. We stood over it in the sunlight, and the mirror reflected nothing. Not the sky, not the trees, not us. Just a smooth, dull surface. I tapped it with a shovel. It didn't sound like glass, more like metal, thick and cold. We agreed to leave it alone for the night. That was our first mistake. That evening, the lights in the house started flickering. Our baby monitor kept picking up static and strange clicking noises. We hadn't even set the nursery up yet. At 3:13 a.m., our bedroom smoke detector went off for exactly 3 seconds, then stopped. No smoke, no reason. The next morning, I checked the backyard again. The mirror had moved. It was now tilted at an angle, like something beneath it had pushed up from below, and there were fingerprints on the surface. Not ours. Too long, too many joints, like someone or something had pressed its hands against the glass from underneath. That night, I had the dream. I was standing in the yard. The mirror was vertical now, standing on its own, half buried in the grass like a headstone. In the dream, I walked up to it, and this time, I did see a reflection, but it wasn't mine. It was a version of me. Skin too pale, eyes completely black, mouth slightly open, breathing slowly. Behind him in the reflection were dozens of shapes in the dark, standing perfectly still, all watching, all waiting. I woke up drenched in sweat, and something cold and wet was on my pillow. When I turned on the light, there was a perfect handprint. Too long, too many joints. We tried to cover it up. We dragged a tarp over the mirror, dumped dirt back on top, even put a flower bed over it. None of it helped. The lights flickered, our walls started creaking at night, and every mirror in the house started fogging up from the inside. Messages started appearing. First one said, "Mirrors remember. Next night, you left us here." I finally lost it and went out there with a pickaxe, determined to smash the thing. But when I swung, the axe bounced right off, didn't even scratch it. And worse, the moment the metal touched the glass, I heard a voice in my head, not speaking, screaming. We're not sure what to do anymore. We tried calling the city. They sent a survey team to examine what we claimed was a buried structure. The workers showed up, marked the area with orange paint, then left. They never came back. Now, every night, our house fills with clicking sounds, like fingernails tapping on windows, and we're starting to see reflections where there shouldn't be any. My wife swears she saw our baby in the reflection of the turned-off TV, but older, watching her. And last night, I saw myself in the hallway mirror, but my reflection didn't copy my movements. It stood still, then smiled. We're moving next week. I tried covering the mirror with concrete this time, but something keeps pushing up from underneath. And just before I left the yard tonight, I saw a crack forming in the concrete. Not a break, a smile.